Welcome to Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, prescribed by Dr. Harrison. So I kind of want to get a little nostalgic here and talk about the good old days, and we always mention about how it's not the way it used to be, and there's so many different variables to that, and so many different particular events or things you did as a child that your kids just don't do anymore. And I don't want to take that as a grand concept in this video. I specifically want to talk about, though, the old days of playing with neighborhood friends, right? It used to be I woke up every weekend or anytime I came home from school, and the first thing I would do was, after I finished homework or on the weekends, once I woke up and got some breakfast, I'd call my buddy Kevin up, who lived around the corner down the block, and be like, "What are you doing?" He'd like, "Let's go, I'm ready to go." We'd hop on our bikes, I'd head off over there. No cell phone, no quarter for a payphone, no food, no anything. And we would just go riding our bikes, and we'd play at the park, and we'd do all kind of things. But it was my neighborhood buddy. He was my best friend in our neighborhood. Nowadays, you barely even know your neighbors, if you even know their name. People are so standoffish and, separated from each other. We just don't communicate within our own community. It's a little different in smaller, more rural towns or just smaller, more suburban areas. But once you get into larger cities or more, a larger population, you just don't see that type of stuff anymore. And I was, at first I kind of blamed it on, well, it's the world. The world's different. You just can't do those things anymore. But then the more I thought about it, the world's not that much different. What's different about it is we have more access to information. So all the things that we see, the injustices, the horrific and horrendous crimes, even crimes on children, all that stuff was going on when we were growing up. You just didn't get a 24/7 news feed about it on your phone. You didn't see it on billboards, electronic billboards when you were driving on the freeway. You didn't get alerts on your phone that a kid had been abducted. All that stuff has always happened. We are just more aware of it, so now we're more cautious. But some people are so cautious that they're standoffish, and they don't allow themselves to be a part of a community. But remember what I talked about so many times on this show, is that it takes a village to raise a child. Part of that village is your immediate surrounding community. The people who live on the same street as you, around the corner. Now, we don't have very many kids on our block, and we don't have very many boys on our block that are the same age. There are some boys behind our house. There's actually 3 of them, and I have 3 boys. But the reason I don't let my boys play with them is because they're much older. They're older by like 5 years. And I don't need my 9-year-old hanging out with a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. And why this 13, 14, 12, 11, and 10-year-old even want to say hello and hang out with my kids, I'm not really sure. That's just a little bit too much of an age gap, especially when I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old. I don't need them around the stuff that 13 and 14-year-olds, 12-year-olds are doing. I just don't. But at the end of the block, there is a family with a young daughter and a young boy. And now, part of the reason I don't think we've ever really communicated is the mom, when we drive by, she'll say hello and smile. The dad, quite frankly, every time I pass by him in my car going to, coming to my house and he's heading into his house or whatever the case may be, which is pretty often because we happen to be passing by each other a lot, especially because we simply live on the same street, I nod and I say hello because that's how I was raised to do when you see other people. He doesn't smile. He doesn't head nod back. He just looks and then keeps going. So I was kind of like, all right, well, I guess he wants nothing to do with, just being neighborly. So, okay, fine. But my kids are the one who brought all this about. This is what all this hoopla and all this, this prelude to what I'm talking about here today. As we were driving home the other day, we come down through this alley to kind of take a shortcut around the busy streets to get to our street. And now they live on the corner right where the alley starts. And they're always playing in front of their house. And this little boy, who's probably around somewhere between 7 to 9 years old, so he's right in my kid's age range, he was just outside by himself dribbling a basketball. Just by himself. And as we passed by, the boys saw him, and they looked, and I smiled and waved to the kid, and all my kids smiled and waved. And then he stood there and just watched us go and park. And as the kids got out of my car, they started to wave to him down the street, and he waved back, and he just stayed there in the middle of the street watching us. And we have a basketball court in our backyard, right? And so they're like, I wonder what his name is. I wonder, if he has anyone to play with. Can we go down and play with him? And I was like, you know what? Go inside, put your stuff up, and, not today, but because we've got dinner as well, that we just brought back. Tomorrow, I'll take you guys over there after school. You can knock on his door, and you can find out if he wants to play basketball at the house with us. And they were so excited. I was kind of flabbergasted. I was baffled. I was floored at how excited they were to be able to play with a kid on their block down the street. But then I remembered how much I loved the fact that my friend was around the corner. It was someone new to play with, or someone who wasn't my sister or by myself or my dad, that I could go and play with, just like if I was at school with my friends playing recess. So next day, we got back from school. They did their homework stuff, got a snack, put all their stuff up. I told them to put their shoes on, and we went down there. Now, I told them, though, you guys are going to have to invite him to play. And if he answers the door, you ask him his name and invite him, but you also ask to speak to his mother, and you ask her yourself. I'm going to stand back here on the grass and watch. So we went down there. All three of them knocked on the door. The mom came to the door, and my oldest was like, I'm Averin. This is Alim and Adris. We saw your son dribbling a basketball the other day, and we want to know if he wanted to come play basketball with us at my house. We live right down the street. And at first she was kind of like, what's going on? Are they selling candy or something? And then she just started laughing, and she was like, oh, hon, he's at school. Try back after 5. They were so happy. They were like, okay, and they went running and taking off to head back to the house, jumping around, screaming, yeah. And I was like, because of our caution as parents, we eliminate stuff like that for them. Who knows what this kid could bring into their life? Now, if it's something that, is negative and I don't particularly like them hanging out with this kid, well, then I'll nip it in the bud. But he looks like a really good kid, and every time I've seen him outside, he's never been doing anything mischievous or, being inappropriate or being loud. He's just kind of out there with no one to play with, right? So yesterday was the next day, rewind. So after 5, when I finally was like, all right, you guys, if we want to go down there, you got to clean up your mess that you've made. And then by the time they cleaned up, dinner was ready, and I was like, hey, we're not going to do it today, but tomorrow, Friday, you'll have more time because there's no school on, Saturday. You can go down and ask them. Do you know what happened? These kids full out started crying and being upset that they couldn't go meet this new friend. And I was like, you guys don't even know him. You don't even know if you're going to like him. But I'm telling you, tomorrow we can go and you'll have more time to play with him. The first thing that they said this morning, Daddy, can we go down to the house and ask him to play? I was like, yeah, after school, bro. You got to go to school. Right now, when we go down there, after they ask him, I'm going to introduce myself to the mom, to the dad, whoever's there to open the door. I'm going to invite them to come on down so they can see that the boys are playing outside and they're not inside the house with parents they don't know, right? And I'm going to make the parents feel comfortable. But I don't have to be best friends with the parents. Maybe it ends up I really like the dad. He just, he's not a person to open up to people he doesn't know. Who knows? Maybe we don't have any relationship. My best friend Kevin around the corner, his parents and my parents, they knew each other. They talked on the phone when they like, oh, where are they going? What are you guys doing? Or can he come spend the night? Yada, yada, yada. But they never hung out. They never had barbecues together. Hell, I don't even think either of our dads ever shared a drink, or the moms ever shared a drink, or anyone ever sat down with a meal with everyone. It was either I was at his house or he was at mine. So that's totally fine if we have separation with the parents, as long as the parents know that they can trust when their kid's over here and that I can trust when their kid's over there. But if I can trust that my kid's over there and they can trust that their kid's over here, now we're talking the community raising children. Learning from more than just the parents. Being looked out for than more than just the parents. Now, when the kid's out front playing, and if they have a relationship with my child, They know if something ever happens, I'm going to look out for their son the same way I would expect them to look out for mine, right? It takes a village. Get back to that. Get back to knowing the people in your community. Get back to letting your kids go down the street and ride bikes with their friends. I know this world is dangerous. I know that things happen and we hear about it all the time. But is it really any more dangerous than it used to be? Or is it that we just hear more about it? Don't let that stifle all the opportunities and experiences you can give yourself and your children. So I'm looking forward to today when they come home from school, because I know the first thing they're going to do is go meet a new friend. And I hope that's what happens, is he becomes a new friend. All right, that's Doc's Daily Dose for Dads. Don't forget to hashtag Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, hashtag 4D. Hit the subscribe button, all social media at rebirthbx. Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. Check out the website, rebirthbx.com. I've got a pilot shoot for a show tomorrow that I'm going to do that's hopefully going to get pitched to some networks. And we're trying to make this thing happen, man. I'm telling y'all, jump on it now. I will not forget the people who showed me love from the beginning. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.